Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to another Medieval Kingdoms 1212 online battle. Today is shaping up to be one hell of an engagement on such an awesome looking map. We have kind of obviously the snow pouring down in the blizzard as these two armies get closer and closer towards one another. But we also have some really nice terrain over on the right hand side that is being utilized perfectly. So this should make for one hell of an engagement. Over on the left hand side, the blue and yellow side, we have the forces of Epirus, Bulgaria and Croatia. So in a nice kind of like Baltic alliance, or Balkan alliance I should say, of these forces. And then over on the right hand side we have the armies of, I believe this is Germany, Hungary, obviously the HRE, Hungary, and someone a little bit weird. I don't know if we'd really ever see this, but we do have the Alamid Caliphate, who's holding up the center of these factions. So these guys are a little bit far from home, but maybe in some world these guys could come together. But I'm excited about seeing the Caliphate here because they have these Grenadian slingers all the way from Spain, and they have kind of a really cool looking shield, and obviously have the ability to hammer away at their opponents from range. We'll have to see how they go up against the Balkan crossbows from Croatia and the other factions around them. So yeah, I mean, let's just dive straight into this one. It's going to get kicked off pretty quickly, as we do have the Alamid Caliphate pushing up their spear line, trying to get in the faces of their opponents. And I'm not actually sure if their slingers can volley at their opponents, because it's kind of a little bit of a hill in the way, and obviously the slingers need more of a condensed like line of firing, so these slingers might actually be made completely useless. However, it does seem that they are turning a bit, and they might look to try and pick off some men from the forces over from Bulgaria over on the other side right there. We also have the heavier knights from Germany pushing forward their front line of heavy spearmen. These guys are going to be advancing and obviously getting in the faces of their opponents. But the crossbows right now are doing a lot of damage, and oh no, the slingers are perfectly fine to shoot over this arc, and they are doing a lot of damage to these militia crossbowmen, racking up several kills on them already. 23 kills right off the bat is doing a lot of damage. And also what I want to do as well is I want to give the players massive props in this battle. It's something I've been asking for a long time, but it seems like both players have gone for a much denser battle line, which is absolutely amazing. Please add more of this, and if you guys prefer the more dense battle lines, then do let them know in the comments down below, because they do read them comments, and obviously they can get some good ideas to see what you guys like when it comes to making these battle replays. Because yeah, I personally love the denser, kind of more condensed battles, because it gives more kind of maneuverability around the flanks rather than just one long line. And I think it makes for a much more interesting battle, as you kind of have these more kind of quadrants of armies advancing towards one another. So yes, please do more of this, guys. They look absolutely awesome. They really do. So as you can see, the Alamid Caliphate has pushed up their spear line, and they have formed shield wall. And again, that does look really nice with a blizzard coming down. And then they've got infantry backing them up in the back line. We do have the Croatian nobles. I think these are the commune nobles holding up, ready for a charge coming in, supported by some heavier infantry just to their left hand side. So I imagine these guys will want to get into charging range as soon as physically possible. The HRE has also moved up its forces. You can see them in the red, and they're kind of just accepting this little missile off. I assume the crossbows from the HRE will be doing a lot of damage to their opponents. However, Bulgaria are holding firm, just advancing forward some of their cavalry, and the Bulgarian horse will be pretty scary to deal with, honestly. If they can obviously take the high ground and come down onto the German knights, they might definitely be able to withstand them. They've obviously got lots of spears moving forward as well, just down there. Such a good bird's eye view of the battlefield. As the crossbows just kind of skirmish off between one another, you got some of the despot spearmen just holding up, I assume, in like a shield wall formation, protecting themselves. But oh, here we go. Yeah, the mercenary Genoan crossbowmen are going to be holding the line for the Bulgarians and probably winning this missile off. Most certainly winning this missile off. And here we go, the first charges of the battle, as we do have the Croatian communal nobles charging in against the Caliphate spear line. And one would assume that the communal nobles will be able to rip through these lightly armoured spearmen, as I don't think these spearmen have chainmail under their their clothing. They are just kind of more of a malicious spearman. That's kind of what they're designed for. They're designed to try and tire out their opponents. And then they're going to bring in the big boys right here. This heavy line of Granada swordsmen will be reinforcing. There's some more pikemen in the back line as well, getting ready to advance forward. And all whilst this is going on, we do have the Greek fire in the back from Epirus, who are holding down the left-hand side with much more of a longer formation. But they're obviously suffering from this because I feel like, you know, the forces over on this side of Hungary could just smash through this battle line very, very effectively and keep on going. Some pikemen have been brought up in the centre now, so we're going to have some of the Caliphate's pikemen who are going to be pushing forward there and just helping out in the battlefield. And I think that's just such an effective way of committing forces to this battle. Obviously having the pikemen striking in between the gaps of the spearmen. And the communal nobles are going to have to pull back some of their crossbowmen, getting a little bit too close for comfort. As the battle lines continue to go off, and obviously we have some cavalry moving around the Bulgarians looking for a gap and actually finding the perfect one. Going to be going after these crossbowmen. However, the German knights may have set a trap in this battle as the crossbows flee back, but I don't know if they're going to be able to escape. We've got a counter charge coming off here as the Bulgarian knights smash in there, but now all of a sudden they're completely surrounded by the heavier German knights coming in from both sides. More Bulgarian cavalry is turning up, but it could just be a little bit too late to this fight, because once the German cavalry get stuck in, they're going to be scary, and the crossbows have basically made this out unscathed. It is going to force the main Bulgarian force though to advance onto the German line, but you know, the Germans are just matching the Bulgarians man for man, and obviously the Bulgarians would have spent a large amount of their money on that Genoan crossbow line, whereas the the Germans maybe spent it more on their Imperial Knights. And even though they do get a very, very nice charge there onto the back of the spearmen, the Germans are going to come flying in just to trade blow for blow. Another cavalry charge moving in as the Hungarians look to try and seize the advantage. But we now have the HRE, the Holy Roman Emperor himself, moving around, I imagine gearing up for another assault. We also have a large amount of crossbows here lined up as well. Over in the main line as well, we do finally have the Hungarians advancing forward in this just massive cavalry brawl that is going on in the center of the battlefield. It's very hard to tell who is winning this one, but we have seen both sides committing a large amount of their forces. Also a large amount of crossbows or slingers actually coming in for the Caliphate, just looking to kill as many horses as possible. And then we obviously have the Hungarian battle line charging forward as more men go flying in. Some javelins back here for Epirus as well. This is a really cool battle because we're seeing a lot of units we don't tend to see too often. Too often we see just like kind of full late game units, but we're seeing a lot of light militia being used. We're seeing kind of weird kind of javelins, Greek fire, and a whole bunch of other units. It does seem like this unit of swordsmen from Hungary have been caught off guard. We are getting some Swiss halberds moved in. Oh, that's awesome. This is one of the newer units in the mod. The Swiss mercenaries. They even have their own special kind of picture right there as well. The mercenary Swiss halberds, which look absolutely amazing. So the Swiss mercenaries are moving in right there and continuing to fight hard. Over on this left-hand side, you can see it's just an all-out brawl right now. These crossbows are formed up quite nicely, but they're going to leave themselves very vulnerable to the 4 units of crossbows right there. But they are racking up some good kills and maybe trying to pick off the Tsar's bodyguard, getting lucky shot off on the general. That'd be pretty huge. The Bulgarians are breaking through this area very, very nicely. We are going to get a unit of heavy German knights, though, charging in, dismounted knights, charging with that huge greatsword, looking to try and pick off as many of these mounted units as possible, and then move on to another unit. It does seem like the Imperial Ritter, though, are breaking against the Tsar's bodyguard, so the Bulgarian cavalry faring pretty well in that engagement. We do actually see this unit of hooked pikemen, though, being broken by the heavier German infantry units that are pushing up. These two-handed swordsmen are doing crazy amounts of damage, and that's going to open up a pretty nice gap for this unit of dismounted Imperial Ritter to either charge after some crossbows or go into the back of these infantrymen and take out more of these mercenary Swiss halberds that are over on the other side. So the Swiss are playing both sides this day. It does seem like the knights are going to be moving around, but they need to be very careful because they could find themselves being shot in the back by these Genoan crossbows very, very quickly. Over in the central line, we do have both sides kind of acting in a stalemate. The Caliphate does still have a very nice battle line, and the Croatians are still committing more men forward with their crossbows, taking off a few horses. So in the centre, things are pretty stationary, but over on the left-hand side, it seems like the Epirites, is that the right word? The forces of Epirus are moving on, and there we go. The Greek fire is unloading into these mercenary Swiss halberds, doing so much damage to them. You can see that they are down to just 77 men now. And we've also got javelins coming in as well. So definitely looking to try and take out as many of these Swiss units as possible. Over on the other side, we are seeing the forces of... whose general went down? I think the Croatian general actually went down, and that's going to completely broke up, and maybe the enemy general's been killed as well. So both Hungary and Croatia have both lost their generals. That's going to send shockwaves down their battle lines. And oh my god, the HRE have just absolutely demolished the Bulgarian battle line. Look at them flee. Or the Croatian battle line even. The Croatians were covering this, and the HRE have just smashed right through them. And look at that, losing their general was catastrophic in that. There's like 1,000 men here running from the field, and when, you know, that's like probably a tenth of the army size. It's not letting me look, actually. I mean, it's more than a tenth of the armies just breaking away right there. That is catastrophic for them, and they only really have their commune nobles who are strong enough to really stick around, but they're obviously fighting the Granada swordsmen, who are such a deadly force on the front line, heavily armoured infantry. And they're definitely a force you want to be trying to oppose these noblemen, especially with the pikemen as well, pushing up as well. Very, very deadly stuff indeed. There you go, the Croatians are fully broken right now. That's going to be really, really bad. Really bad for them. Now the Bulgarians have kind of lost their footing, but they're doing a great job over on this side. They really are. And oh, look at that. The mercenary Swiss pikes are completely surrounded. I mean, that is pretty historically accurate right there, as the Swiss pikes try and keep firm. And I mean, they're holding, considering how much they're surrounded by. They're doing a pretty good job, and they're actually repelling some of these knights as well. So not a bad unit right there to bring to the battle. The HRE are just committing everything in. We do have some Bulgarian cavalry who have made it through the battle lines, and are getting some good charges off onto the crossbowmen. But now they're taking missile fire, and the rest of the infantry are just being cut apart. The forces of Epirus, though, have won a pretty sturdy victory against the Hungarians, and now they're bringing over the majority of their force to try and reinforce. The Caliphate doesn't have a ton left in the battle, but they're going to try their best to reform. They have a lot of horse left as well. Balance of power is definitely actually in favour of the HRE and the Caliphate, as it seems like for the most part, the Hungarians just need to fall back and try and use that hill to their advantage. But there are a lot of German knights still left remaining. We're also about to get another beautiful charge here by the Alamid Caliphate into the side of these Varangian Guard. These are basically Varangian Guard, I think. They're going to be able to put up a good fight, but the cavalry is just going to pull out of there, look for another charge as more and more of the slingers do fall back. And now the Caliphate is just going to form up a battle line and hope that the HRE can reinforce. We also have a pretty heavy cavalry engagement right here, as one unit of this Alamid Caliphate's unit is basically holding up the entire Epirot cavalry, which is actually really, really important in this battle, because if they didn't hold this up, the cavalry could have maybe wrapped around and taken care of the Alamid Caliphate. Alamid Caliphate? So it's actually really, really beneficial. This one unit basically sacrificed itself to keep these 3 units at bay, maybe even a few more if they do deploy to that. And allows them to get their slingers back. It allows them to reform up this battle line. And it also bides the HRE some time to come. But it seems like the HRE kind of a bit busy elsewhere, trying to chase down these Genoan crossbowmen. I mean, obviously they don't really want to turn their backs to their opponents, but I mean, they are giving up the ability to form up into one big army by moving in, but maybe the Alamid Caliphate doesn't want it. And he's like, yeah, finish up the Bulgarians, it's better to be safe than sorry. And even if we break, you can then come in and clean up with these heavier HRE infantrymen. But the Genoan crossbowmen are a heavy armored infantry unit, or I guess crossbow unit. So even if they do, you know, get into melee, they can hold their own for some time for the Bulgarians. There you have it, the majority of infantry. I mean, yeah, just look at that one unit of heavy cavalry is holding off 4 units, which is so big when you are outnumbered and you're trying to buy time, basically, for the HRE to turn up. That's absolutely massive. We also have the Varangian Guard engaging in, but they are once again being repelled. And look at that, more Greek fire coming in, obviously focusing down the horses. Need to be careful not to do any friendly fire there, actually breaking one of their own units as well, but managing to take care of that bigger cavalry unit, which is definitely worth it. And now again, the Alamid Caliphate is just falling back step by step, kind of a fighting retreat, as it were, using these using these slingers. And the slingers can go into melee in a second as well, because they're almost out of ammunition, but right now they're just trying to take out this unit of heavy two-handed weapons. Hopefully the slings can find their mark, but these guys are charging in, picking off a handful more before the charge comes in, and now these slingers are going to be falling back from that engagement. And yeah, allowing their brothers to continue to pick away at the armor. Finally, the unit of cavalry broke. And that literally bought so much time, right? That bought so much time for the HRE to deal with the rest of the Bulgarians. And now they can turn over, and by the time they turn up, I mean, honestly, the majority of Epirus will probably have broken through, but there won't be anything left. And imagine if all these units, 3 units of cavalry, 2 units of heavy swords, had made their way to this fight beforehand. The ability to surround and kill these slingers would have been huge. That might have been enough to break the rest of the Alamid Caliphate's army. And then who knows what would have happened. So I think definitely that one unit of cavalry sacrificing itself really dictated how this battle ended up. As we can see, the fighting going off. As we're seeing it, the balance of power is not looking good for the yellow side. They've only really got a handful of men left in the battle, and now even their cavalry pushing forward are going to be under heavy fire from the slingers. I think the slingers actually formed up a defensive chest. Oh, that's so cool. That's such a cool unit, and with these formations as well. That's awesome. It's unfortunate we don't have like a Free Kingdom style thing where the front line could do this and the slingers behind them could rattle off shots. That'd be really, really cool for a unit like this to kind of form a stationary testudo on the front lines and then the back lines. But I guess it's kind of quite hard to do that with a sling. But even still, it's going to provide them with a little bit more protection, and now these slings can just hit away at the knights and really take off what's left of Epirus. They were getting a good rear charge and actually managed to break a unit of swordsmen, or spearmen I should say. It's pretty decent. And then they kind of immediately turn around and charge in. You can see the differences in the indent. This is a unit not in shield wall, and this is a testudo, and this is a unit in testudo. You see kind of the difference in the line breaking up from a cavalry charge. It really does make all the difference. It really, really does. And now the HRE have turned up. Daddy is home. The Emperor has arrived to deal with this once and for all. See the Caliphate right here. Not the weather he's probably used to down in sunny Spain. But hey, he has brought his men to fight and die in a glorious battle, and that is exactly what has happened. And now it seems like we're just going to be getting this final engagement. It seems like the HRE, with their Hungarian allies, are going to claim a victory this day. And yes, please, please, please have more of these battles, guys, where you have more of a dense formation. I think it just makes things really interesting because it's not just like one long connected line. It's cool seeing these big blocks going at it, you know, which maybe have a bit of a gap between them. You know, kind of like these separate engagements kind of around the battlefield. I'm sure you guys can come up as well if you want to do more of stuff like this with really cool, unique ways of like maybe having a couple armies together, maybe one army off on the side. There's like loads of interesting ways to kind of keep the battles fresh. But yeah, I definitely really love these more like dense battle lines, multiple ranks. I think it personally looks really cool. As is my opinion, though. You guys might prefer a different style than me. Look at that. The HRE doing work right there, just decapitating their opponents and now working on the horses. Such a cool kill animation right there by these infantrymen. And this poor lone soldier getting taken down. And the HRE cheer as victory is near at hand. I think all they have to do now is just come around the flank and envelop the rest of these guys. The general is not going to go down without a fight though, getting a great charge off onto these slingers and probably breaking them pretty handedly, getting some extra kills for his rank before he does go down himself. But now we're going to have the Caliphate going off and trying to take him off. Oh man, it looks like the Caliphate actually went down. Oh my god, before the battle ended, the Caliphate did end up getting slain. A needless death right there as he went in for honor and glory, but all he got was death and destruction. So let's take a look at the kills as we wrap this battle up. He got 79 kills, but then he went down himself. Oh yeah, look at that. The Emperor General, almost 450 kills. That's pretty goddamn insane. Almost 400 kills on this unit as well. Over on the Bulgarian side of things there, Cavalry doing pretty nice. Yeah, these Boyar Lancers getting over 230 kills is pretty naughty. And finally, the Croatians is obviously going to be their nobles, which really racked up the kills. Over on the Caliphate side of things, I mean, obviously the Cavalry, 500 kills. And the Slingers doing really, really well as also. The HRE, again, their Imperial Ritter, going to be racking up tons of kills. And obviously also the dismounted Imperial Ritter as well. 200 kills a pop on all of these three. Very nice indeed. And then finally, the Kingdom of Hungary. We do have a pretty nice amount of kills on some of these archers. And also onto this infantry. 50 kills isn't bad, but definitely could be better. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you did, drop a like and a comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I upload every single day. And I'll see you guys in the next one.